We've spent the past for almost nearly 5 years now, up to the point of warning people what the realities of Brexit are going to mean for this country. And for some people, it is going to come as a massive shock. It will. It will come as a massive shock, and they will, I guarantee you, in years to come, the phrase, "that's not what I voted for," will become so vogue. It will be unbelievable. But in this time, we've spent all this time since it was announced telling you in great detail exactly what to expect. And one of the things we said was these trade deals, which you are all crying about how apparently it's wonderful and apparently that we can't get good deals now, although you won't say exactly go into detail about those deals, which is kind of odd. How about we are massively about to get screwed by the US, and these are going to have massive knock-on effects for people here in the UK. None of them are going to be good. You have the Trade Secretary, Wilbur Ross, who said in a statement, and you can look this up, he said that it is America's God-given right to steal jobs from the UK to bring them to America. Why on earth, I've said this before, why on earth are Brexiteers so against being in the European Union, where we have a say, well, we had a say, where we were considered to be like one of the big three? It was us, Germany and France, who were considered to be the big three, who had the most weight to throw around and most influence in Europe, so we could actually influence what regulations and all this other stuff, all these laws that we had actual say in how they were formed, to then going, we now have to accept America, what America dictates to us. How are Brexiteers going from having a say to not having a say and to being dictated to? The irony is, of course, is that that is exactly what they complained about the EU, when it was not true at all. But there you go. And to prove this point, there's been so much over this past week. I'm sending this video out for Monday, but I'm doing this on Friday. But oh boy, has there been a ton of stuff come out about this supposed trade deal. Now, of course, these talks are kept secret, so we won't fully know, but enough stuff has come out that we are and should be very, very worried about what could happen to this country. By the way, you think getting out of the EU, of what we have seen for the past couple of years, is easy street compared to trying to get out of a trade deal with the US that will absolutely screw us. So, this comes from The Guardian, and the title of the headline is US message to Britain in bilateral trade talks. It's us or China. The US government has been privately pressing the UK in bilateral trade talks to make a choice between the US and China. The US is seeking to insert a clause that would allow it to retreat from parts of the deal if Britain reaches a trade agreement with another country that the US did not approve. How are Brexiteers okay with that? Makes me so angry, because this is the type of stuff you've been saying the EU's been doing, and it's been nothing to do with it. The EU has hundreds of trade agreements that we've gotten through there which are good and are valuable to us. The EU's never stopped us doing trade deals with other people. What it's done is it's gone, okay, we want to do a trade deal with them, okay, let's go do a trade deal with them. Now the US will be dictating to us what trade deals we can and can't do with certain countries. I thought this was about regaining our sovereignty and independence as a country. Congratulations, guys. You've just sold this country to the US. So the proposed clause made no mention specifically of China, but it is seen by British diplomats in Washington as intended to be a lever to deter closer UK-China relations. It has also been seen by the UK as an equivalent to the public pressure the US has been placing on Britain to not reach an agreement with Huawei, who provide the UK's 5G telecoms network. Most of the controversy concerning the US-UK trade talks so far has been focused on the prices of medicines, food standards, and digital and tax. The proposed clause is based on Article 30 of a US-Mexico-Canada agreement that locks out non-market economies. Although the UK does not formally oppose such clauses, British diplomats are worried that in the current context it would give the US exclusive and unbalanced leverage over UK policy towards China. And not just China, everyone else. Hey, that import you're getting from the EU, which is cheaper, we don't want you to do that anymore. We want you to go cut out that deal and get stuff from us rather than the EU, where it's cheaper, so you have to import from us. Anyone else seeing the problem here? This is hilarious. This is exactly the type of stuff Brexiteers, when they bring up trade, because of course when you try and press them on these things, it's all of a sudden not about trade, have been complaining about the EU again, even though it's not been true for years. And now you have this, and yet somehow they are okay with this. I do not understand how. But of course, it's blatant hypocrisy on their side because they don't really care. Because they have people, who are higher ups, the millionaires and billionaires who funded Brexit, who know exactly what they want and what they're going to get out of this. And that is a market pride, free from the EU and its regulations, that they can run wild with. And basically so that they can make a couple of extra billion. The pie may get smaller, but their slices of that pie get larger. That is what is happening. So UK diplomats are more broadly concerned that Donald Trump's determination to use the coronavirus outbreak as a political stick to beat China and secure his re-election is going to place the UK government under immense external pressure to side with the US against China and support a stronger anti-China posture, and is growing across the Conservative benches. Former Chancellor George Osborne said that it was nevertheless confident that Boris Johnson was not going to succumb, saying that curiously, the member of the cabinet most in favour of engagement with China is the Prime Minister. He is perfectly prepared to resist some of the pressure from his backbenchers. Osborne, speaking at the Standard Group webinar, added that multilateralism is a way for countries to cooperate on shared objectives. You cannot have this and side with the US in isolating China from the global system. It is the longest continuous existing civilization in the world. I just want to actually point that out, what he's just said. Multilateralism is a way for countries to cooperate on shared objectives. Why on earth are we leaving the EU? Once again, and we'll get to another story later about something else happened, which shows that the Conservative Party is still split on Europe. And why some of these splits indeed happen, but we'll get to that. That's another article for another time, but we'll get to it, don't worry. Anyway, it continues. Osborne recalled that when he was Chancellor, Johnson, who at the time was Mayor of London, accompanied him on a trip to China and fully understood the need for cooperation with Beijing. In the Harvard Kennedy School of Government policy paper jointly written by the former Treasury Minister Ed Balls, the author claims that a full trade deal before the US presidential election in November is impossible. They also suggested even a mini deal might present a dilemma for the UK, since it could draw it into an emerging US foreign and economic policy based on anti-China bilateralism, and this could close the door on plans for a global Britain. So as you can see, we're meant to be this really powerful country, yet here we are being bullied by America. Once again, Jenga tower of Brexit pulled out the block again. And as we keep on saying, it's going to collapse. It's going to collapse sooner or later. The paper cites an unnamed UK government official saying that the talks could conclude with a political statement that pulls the UK towards an anti-China, anti-cooperative view of the world. It also cites UK finance official saying the US government seems to want to use the pandemic to cut off China from the global economy, to onshore manufacturing, to redesigning the global economy, to reprioritize around security, while saying you can't have China as part of the system because of how they behave. Or is this electioneering rhetoric? Or is it potentially a much more dangerous desire to have a different global economy where China isn't part of the system? A Foreign Office official is quoted saying, "The strategy is to not leave the EU and to find out that the US is setting the agenda and that the UK is bound to the US because of a trade deal." Exactly what we said was going to happen. One of the reasons why we joined the European Union in the first place, or the beginnings of the European Union in the first place, because we were concerned that we were becoming too dependent on the US. Some UK officials believe that there is still merit in the UK trying to reach a preliminary outline deal with China before the US presidential election, arguing it will put pressure on the EU to reach a deal with the UK by the end of the deal. Not going to do anything of the sort. Remember, but they're trying to, quote, get a deal by the end of the year, but that's nowhere in sight. These types of deals take years to put in place. They also believe that the prospect of a UK deal could be used as leverage to persuade Trump to adopt a more multilateral approach to the coronavirus crisis. Yeah, like that's going to work. Donald Trump is going to be in favour of what is in favour for him. Doesn't matter if you get this deal. It will be, as has been said in the title of this article, it's us or China. And this sets a very, very dangerous precedent of trying to cut a country out of the global economy and out of the world in general. You just can't do that. That is absolutely insane. Working together is far more productive. In fact, many pieces in this article have just highlighted the exact reason why it is so crucial that why we were in the European Union and why it was good to be a part of it. Now, in the end, it doesn't bother me, because all paths lead us back to rejoining the EU, and it's just a question of how soon. Could be 5 years, it could be 10, it could be 15. All the experts have said that is the general timescale. Brexit is going to be a pointless waste of time, as it always has been, because they cannot make a decision on what they want and they can't accept what they're going to lose because they somehow want to keep it. We already know from a couple of stuff that's been leaked about this, again, the EU-UK trade deal, that the UK government is trying to have its cake and eat it, and is making unreasonable demands to try and keep stuff and not be a member of the EU by committing to continue obligations. Also this week, it has also been confirmed that the UK government will have to set up a border between Ireland and the UK. So that sea border, all these things that the Brexiteers said that they didn't want, is now happening. I'm not surprised in the slightest.